Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. Today, for this deck profile, we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be going over the Mermail deck profile, just a slightly different, and I'm going to be going into a deep synopsis of it. First and foremost, before we even start the profile, I wanted to talk about Mermails and how I became upon them. When Mermails first came out, they were extremely expensive. Megalos were $100. TS's didn't exist. Lins were pretty expensive. They were like 20 each. So I pretty much held off on the deck for quite some time to play the deck. I accumulated it slowly. Definitely like the way the artwork looks. Like, I love the way Lins looks. I like Megalo. TS was one of my least favorite Mermails because he was an aqua monster instead of a sea serpent, but he grew on to me. Lead reminds me of the movie off of the Simpsons movie where the governor, he says, "I was born to lead, not read. I picked number 3." That's why you guys always hear me quote that every time I see Lead. He's a pretty cool card. And one thing that I learned about playing Mermails from playing them for, I guess I want to say a year and a half or however long they've been out, because I did pick them up just basically when TS came out and the deck became full, is that this deck requires a lot of skill. This deck has always required a lot of skill. It was never easy to play this deck. It did lose to Floodgate a lot, like Macro, Soul Drain, and stuff like that. And the deck was pretty easy to side against until now, because now, I mean, it's still pretty easy, but you hurt yourself more often than not. But Mermails are an extremely good deck dedicated to making really good pushes. They make a lot of big plays, and sometimes they make unbreakable fields that your opponent can't get over, or just put your opponent in so much of a disadvantage for playing that you practically will win the game. This deck is extremely fast. It's not simple, and it does require skill not only to build but to play. Another thing I wanted to do is that the back row build, I'm not going to say that this build is better than the back row build. And if you put it in my perspective, if I were playing at a high level event, I probably just wouldn't play Mermail completely, because I cannot play the back row build. I do not like how it plays. I do not like the openings. Sometimes you just draw nothing but back row, which is really bad for Mermail. Sometimes you'll draw a decent amount, which is pretty good, and then other times you'll draw no outlets. And I'll just be going over why I play certain cards. This particular build is based more solely on making rank 4 plays, which is why my level 4 monster count is a little higher than normal, and also making 7 plays, which is why my 7 count is a lot higher than normal. So we'll definitely get over that, get into that. Couple of matchups that I want to say this deck is extremely bad against is the Hat matchup. I think I've found a way to make the Hat matchup worse than what it is. That this deck has against the Hat matchup, even worse than what it is, because I am still running infantries and I'm still running marksmans. Infantries don't really serve you any justice, and marksmans just let them trigger off whatever they want to. I'm running 2 copies of Megalo, which in turn needs infantry and marksman to go off. So it really doesn't, what's the name? I'm a little bit more vulnerable on my turn because I don't have anything to protect myself on my opponent's turn and stuff like that. So you're probably going to lose that game 1, which, I mean, if you put it in an aspect, all Mermail decks practically lose that game 1 no matter what. I just made this deck more vulnerable to the game 1. Game 2 and game 3 is where it counts, so you really have to side for them. There's a couple of cards that you can just side and you just completely wreck them, and it's nothing else to be said about that. And you probably could mainboard them because it's just such a good card. I'm really banking on hats becoming less popular because of the new set coming out. People like to play the newest things, so hats might see a decrease in play, which I feel that this deck has a really good matchup against Shadows. I can play Shadows with this deck all day, so I guess this build would be for the future. But let's get down to the monsters that I play. I run 2 copies of Megalo. Now, I love 2 copies of Megalo. I just couldn't. I've tried 1. I've always hated 3. I love 2 copies of Megalo, mainly for this. First of all, I abuse the living daylights out of Mermail Abyss Land. Not only do I have a monster way to search her through Osha, I have 2 ways to keep abusing her back into my hand if need be. I don't really care if my opponent does know that I'm having Lind in my hand. It's not going to stop me. But the biggest problem with Lind is, what big monsters are you going to summon with Lind after TS? Well, the first Megalo is for obvious reasons. You're more than likely going to use this Megalo to pitch and gain its effect. The second Megalo, you never use to pitch and gain its effect. You'll seldomly use to pitch and gain its effect. You're going to use this second Megalo to abuse or or to abuse Lind even more. Just special summoning a 2400 beater. Trust me, when I went down to 1 Megalo in this particular build, I've always wound up summoning Tias at some point in time because I needed another monster. And you want the Tias to gain its effect. You really don't want to summon it to the field. Megalo is just a really good card in this deck, and I feel that its effects are just superior in, you know, almost every Mermail build. Obviously, the back row version wouldn't play more than one because they just don't need it, but this deck needs more than one. 3 copies of Tias, which is the Stratos of the deck. It's not really much else to be said. He makes a lot of really wacky plays. He helps you open up a couple of Bahamut Shark plays, a couple of combos, and then even fits in rank 7 plays, so he's a definitely staple at 3. Here's where things are going to get a little tricky, but first we're going to be talking about the honorary Mermail title, Mermail of Water, or Mermail Abyss title, or whatever. He's the best Mermail in the deck. And I was born to lead, not read. He's a 2500 beater. You will use his effect at some point in time, and you'll love that he nukes hands. But let's get into Mullen, Glacia, and Gorzy. Mully and Gorzy. Mully, I love her. I just didn't think that I would love it this wrong. I realized that when I first started playing Mully, I was playing her wrong. I was playing her to summon her at every given time. Now, granted, more often than not, unless you open with Mully, you're going to be able to play Mully, especially if you have Tidal in graveyard, Aqua Spirits to abuse your graveyard. You're going to be able to play her at one point in time, and it's going to be with relative ease. It's going to get rid of 2 of your opponent's cards from their hand. More often than not, that's going to win you the game on its own. But in the event that you do not get the ability to play her, do not let her sit in your hand. Pitch her with Pike, pitch her with Turge, pitch her with Megalo, pitch her with Tias, pitch her with whatever. She's not that important to the deck. Granted, she does win games on her own sometimes, but if she's just sitting in your hand, it's just as good as any other, I mean, it's just as bad as any other card sitting in your hand with no purpose. Pitch her if you have to. Gores. This was actually what prompted me to do the Mermail Saga, is that I did a Meta Monday on Gores, talking about how good Gores could be, and that Gores is optimal in a Mermail deck. Now, in a Mermail deck that does not play back row, I feel that Gores is extremely optimal. It allows me to set up lightly and just see what my opponent plays. It allows me to stake out, and then when my opponent hits me direct, well, looks like I'm getting 2 monsters out of this. One can help you with Leo, and the other one can help you with a rank 7 play, which will essentially put more pressure on your opponent, because knowing that I'm doing either of those plays, I'm typically not normal summoning. So Gores is just a really good card in there. I like it. I think that more playtesting is needed with him, just because it's decent. I'll play around with it more, but so far it's been pretty good. 3 copies of Pike. I just feel every deck should run Pike. Nothing about that. It's going to help you search into all your needs. Keep in mind that it will miss timing if he is summoned on Chain Link 2. So you really want him summoned on Chain Link 1 and lower, obviously. But it's just a really good card. Nothing else else to say with it. I've seen a lot of people run 2 copies of Lin. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But I feel that the trap build, obviously, it merits running 2 copies of Lens because you don't have enough targets to summon anyways. Sometimes you are getting Pikes. I think they run 1 Turge, but more often than not, you're getting lead, and you really... There's times where you just don't want to summon that 1 copy of Megalo. In this deck, I'm going to be abusing Lin to her full power. I am whipping the living daylights out of this girl. She's going to be played. Turge. Now, Turge put me in an awkward position to run 2. Not just 1, 2. Turge is a level 4 Mermail monster with 1700 attack. The biggest thing about Turge is that, if you guys can see, I'm running higher counts of destruction cards like Pike and Infantry. I'm running 3 copies of Lind, which is a target. It is a 4, so it's searchable through Lind. It just helps out with so more plays. In any given time where you can successfully resolve 2 Turges, you're probably getting something really catastrophic. Like if I get Turges, if I get Gun's effect off once, even if my opponent stops it, if I get Turge's effect to get Gun back and then use Gun's effect then, I don't see my opponent winning those type of games. That's just no matter what. I don't care what the matchup is. If I can resolve 2 Turges in a game, it's pretty much game. Only reason why I do run 2 is because it's a Mermail name, so it's searchable, and the above mentioned before. It actually allows me to pitch Undyne, even knowing that I have controllers in my hand with no problem, just because I'm like, I'll just Turge it back later on if I needed to. 2 copies of Aqua Spirit. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to activate Turge's effect. It's not mandatory. Aqua Spirit really helps with that, making that 4 play, even that 7 play. Get it? 4 play. But even that Synchro 7 play, Aqua Spirit really helps. It's just a really solid card, not much else to be said. 2 copies of Controller and 2 Undyne. I feel like that's standard. Anything less, you should probably not play Mermail, just because these 2 cards have so much usability and versatility. Especially Controller, because it adds, first and foremost, it adds your Synchro plays into the deck, and then secondly, it's just so good. It's really, really good. Undyne, if all else fails, you just pitch it with Megalo, you pitch it with Pike, you pitch it with Turge to grab what you want. Now, Gund, Hild, Osha, Dragoons. Dragoons makes us some really nice soul charge plays. I'll get into that later. Osha is the Bahamut Shark play. Hild makes a lot of other plays, but Bahamut Shark is the main one, and Gund is Gun. So I guess I'm going to talk to you guys about the Bahamut Shark plays. There's multiple ways you can do it. I'm going to show you probably the funnest way to do it. The only thing you need is Tias, a level 4 monster, let's say Pike, and obviously a monster to pitch with Tias. So Tias effect, pitch, special summon. Tias effect is going to add Osha. You're going to normal summon Osha. Osha effect, you're going to special summon Hild, and you're going to special summon Turge. That's obviously another reason why I play Turge, because like I said, I don't really want to get rid of Pike. Pike is my utility card. It does a lot of great things. And then, I'm sorry, he's going to go to the graveyard. You're going to make Mech-equipped Engineer. Engineer effect is going to detach to switch to Turge to defense. Hild's effect is going to activate special summon Pike. Congratulations. Now you can make Bahamut Shark, and you have a Mech-equipped Engineer on the field. That's going to be extremely good later on in the game. The Engineer is obviously going to get you either A, Tri-Edge Levia, or B, Mermail Abyss Trite, depending on whatever you want to do. There's just a lot of other situations. Another play is Tias. And if you have Osha in hand, and let's just say another monster to pitch, you're going to pitch a monster, special summon Tias effect. Oh, wait, then I just wind up doing the same thing. My apologies. There's so many, guys. There's just so many combos that you can make with Osha or Hild to make it. Like, there's a couple of times where I've had, where I just wanted to make a really quick rank 4 play and involve 3 guys. I summoned Pike, Pike effect, pitch Hild, Hild grabbed Undyne, or maybe even, Hild grabbed, what's that damn girl name? Hild grabbed Gun, and maybe there was like a Megalo or a leading graveyard already, and then Hild's effect activates, summons Turge. Wait, hold on. If Pike, bam, bam, yeah, Turge, maybe you Turge, you pitched Gun effect activated, you grab the Hild, Gun effect activated, special summon, and then you basically just have another 4 play. But Hild just makes so many combos. It makes Megalo really, really live. Like, if you open Brick Hand Megalo, you just go Megalo, pitch Hild and another monster, special summon Megalo, Hild effect, special summon Megalo effect, grab what's in it. Now you just have an instant 7 play. I feel like Hild is extremely underrated in that aspect, because there's just so much more to do with this deck. The last thing I'm going to talk about is forcing your opponent, or making your opponent miss timing when it comes to summoning the effective gun. Let's say I have these 2 in my hand, which is the Gund and the Marksman. I'm activating a Megalo effect. I'm going to pitch my Gund. I'm going to pitch my Markling. I'm going to special summon Megalo. Since I have the option, I'm going to place Marksman as Chainlink 1, Gund is Chainlink 2, Megalo is Chainlink 3. Chainlink 3, Megalo activates, adds me the Sphere. Chainlink 2, Gund is going to special summon the monster. Chainlink 1, Marksman is going to destroy. Since they can't activate a card to Chainlink 2, Chainlink 2 cannot be stopped. There's no way they can stop it. They can Torrential, nope. They can't do anything to the summon of that monster because the last card has not resolved yet, which is being Marksman. And that's just how you get your monster off safely no matter what with Gund and Megalo. That's really much else to be said about the monsters. There's so much more, but the reason why I run certain cards is obvious. The reason why I run so many 4s that are Mermail monsters is for Oshia. The reason why I run 2 Megalos is just in case if I have healed in hand. And obviously for other reasons. They serve dual purposes, and the deck runs really fluent by that. Next, we're going to be talking about the spells and the traps. Now, I feel that the spells and the traps are very negotiable. You can run, I'm running 3 copies of Lance and a Soul Charge, and for traps I'm running 2 breakthrough skills and 3 spheres. I feel like the traps are non-negotiable actually. Spheres are mandatory. Breakthrough skill just gets you over so many floodgates. Dweller, Gaios, just whatever. This card is just really good in here. I feel this is superior effect negation in this deck. As for this, I want to try out Forbidden Dress, because now that I think about it, Forbidden Dress gets over the hands because they can activate and damage step. They just do so much more than Lance. People don't play Dimensional Prisons and stuff like that as much, so I would probably try out Forbidden Dress over Lance in there, just to see how they work. As far as Soul Charge, I know that Soul Charge is a pretty good card in Mermails, but opening up Soul Charge is probably one of the worst things ever, especially if you're playing the trap build and don't have any outlets to start pitching cards with. Soul Charge is just absolutely horrible from what I've tested on Devpro. So keep in mind that I did test it on Devpro. I will be testing 2 Lance and 2 Soul Charge, and also 2 Forbidden Dress and 2 Soul Charge, and then just 3 Forbidden Dress and a Soul Charge and 3 Lance and Soul Charge, just to see which one's the superior. Other than that, Soul Charge is just really good play. Anytime you can Soul Charge Dragoon, go into Honor Arc, snatch your opponent's monster, and because you snatch your opponent's monster, activate Dragoon's effect for the 2nd time, that's just amazing. So I really got to give props to Soul Charge, because most often than not, my opponents have heavy back row stopping my plays. I just go, whatever, Soul Charge. Let's do this thing one more time. Now for extra deck. There's 14 slots into my extra deck. The reason why there's 14 slots is because I give you guys a choice on what to play. Engineer, Trite, Alucard for 3s, Dweller, Lava Chain, Excision Knight, 101, Bahamut Shark for 4s. The reason why I run so many is refer back to the monster lineup. I run a lot of 4s. I built this deck on 4s and 7 plays. Big Eye, Gaios, Dracossack. I also built it on Synchro plays, which consists of Gungnir, Black Rose, and Leo. Now, since you do have 1 extra slot, there's Triage, Levia, Steelstorm Roach. I would not recommend Gaga Cowboy. You just don't need it. It's Mermail. This card will be, I feel like this card will be extremely good for Mermail, just not right now. Black Ship of Corn for Blusion, Heartland Draco, and Diamond Dire Wolf. Either of these you guys can pick. If I had to pick one of them, maybe the Tri-Edge Levia, because this deck is just so built on bringing out that Bahamut Shark play, but I really don't want to rely on that. The reason why I don't play 6s, Synchro 6s, is because I have a lore card. I feel that any other time where I would pull out YuGiOh, I would rather pull out a lore card. I'm going to give you a certain situation. The opponent opens up, he sets back row in a monster. I could go into YuGiOh and snatch their monster if the card doesn't destroy it. I could go into Vulcan and then chain Abyss Sphere and get a free monster if I wanted to, but I feel Alucard not only baits the opponent to activating their back row, but it also gets over pesky cards like Geargi Armor. If I hit a Fire Hand with this, and this is my only monster in the field, because more often than not, Allure card will be, and they destroy my Allure card and go into Ice Hand, that's perfectly fine. Now I can go into my plays without being interrupted, because I don't play back row like that anyways. So I just feel Alucard is just really superior over any Synchro 6 that is out currently for this deck. It's a really good card. With that being said, I thank you guys for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. I hope that you guys got a pretty good synopsis on the new way that I do deck profiles. Please let me know how you feel about them. Like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.